buwan, ipagdiriwang natin ang halaga ng dapat natin alamin ang ating nakaraan bilang Pilipino dito sa Amerika. Filipino-American History Month na! Mula sa unang pagdating ng mga Pilipino sa Morro Bay during the Manila-Acapulco Galleon Trade in 1587, tatalakayin natin ang kompletong timeline ngayong buwan. Halika! Alamin natin ang ating history bilang Pilipino dito sa Amerika. Ako po ang inyong kababayan G. Tanji, and welcome to Kababayan Today. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. As we launch our Filipino-American History Month for October, we are joined by Eloisa Borah. Eloisa is a retired UCLA librarian and a life member and trustee emeritus of the Filipino-American National Historical Society. She has authored many works, including the website American of Filipino Descent, FAQS, and Filipinos in Unamuno's California Expedition of 1587 in Amerasia Journal. We are very fortunate, mga kababayan, to learn from her here on our show today. Eloisa, welcome back to Kababayan Today.
Thank you.
All right, it's a very exciting month. For the people that don't understand, what is Filipino-American History Month all about, and when did this start?
The Filipino-American National Historical Society that was started by Fred Cordova and his wife Dorothy in Seattle, Washington. They started actually in 1986 with the association. But in 1995, they decided to unveil this historical marker on Morro Bay to honor the Filipinos who had been part of the expedition, land expedition from the Unamuno ship.
Yes, and you've done so much research about it. We're very fortunate you're here to share with us your knowledge. And it's just appropriate because we're launching our month-long celebration. So let's start off with, kailan dumating ang mga Pilipino dito sa Amerika? When was the first time that Filipinos arrived on history?
Well, as of now, because the research is ongoing, what we know is that they landed in the area of Morro Bay in October 1587.
Okay.
And they were part of a landing party, like I said. The Captain Unamuno's log mentions them. They were part, actually, of many ships that came across the Pacific Ocean with the Manila Galleon Trade.
I see. There it is. 250 years linked Manila to Acapulco, 1565 to 1815. All right.
And there are even some ships that came before of exploration, and there were some ships that came after.
Okay, so these ships would come from the Philippines traveling to Acapulco, which is in the
New Spain at that time, which actually included Mexico, but it also, the northern frontier border was into California.
California, all right. And then let's talk about these galleon ships. You mentioned in your research that there were 4 Filipinos to 1 Spaniard on the Manila Galleons?
Well, he's called the Dean of Latin Americanist, William Shores, and he wrote the definitive book called the Manila Galleon that everybody, whenever they want to know about this topic, goes to. In that book, he said that for every 1 Spaniard, there were 4 Filipinos. That means that was that many sailors on every boat that came across the Pacific in those 250 years.
Okay, and then you also mentioned that America became the new home for the Filipinos. Why is this?
Well, the voyage across the water was very treacherous. People, the food got bad, people starved, people got sick, people died. And so when the people came to if they reached Acapulco, they wanted to jump ship now.
Yeah, they were done.
They were done
voyaging, right? And I'm sure back then, that trip was months.
Yes,
months long.
months long. And so a lot of them, when they got to Acapulco, and we have one example of the Galleon Espiritu Santo that had 74 Filipinos jump ship just from that one boat. And and of course, they didn't want to risk the return, and they blended into the local population.
I see. Okay. All right. Now, moving on, we're also talking about the early Spanish map, the Spanish America in 1712.
This is what we're talking about, where you have to look at where Filipinos could be because of where the Spaniards were, because we were the Filipinos were the cheap labor at the time.
Yes, and they were called, what were we called?
Indios Luzones is what they were called.
Okay.
And but not always. It's very hard, and my article actually goes into it, how they will call Indios this, Indios that, and you don't know which time they're thinking about Filipino. Now, they're not. The word Filipino was not used in the same way we do in those days. The word Filipino was referred to as a Spaniard who was born in the Philippines.
I see.
So you'd have to really look for the mention of Indio.
Okay. All right. And then let's talk about the Unamuna voyage, the log where Filipinos came to California in 1587.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this was a if you notice in the slide, I underlined where it says Indios Luzones, and that is my translation, and you can see that they were part of the people who looked into what was on land. And as a matter of fact, there were skirmishes with the local Chumash Indians, and one of the Filipinos died. So he never got back, and he's still buried somewhere in that area.
Yes, and thanks, of course, to Filipino-American Historical National Society, now there's a marker in Morro Bay. It's a historical marker. Talk to us about that.
Well, this marker honors, on that date when we went on October 18th of 1995.
And you were there.
I was there, and there were members from across the country, because FANS, or Filipino-American National Historical Society, has over 25 chapters across the United States. And people flew in from New York, from Chicago, just to be there. And there were like over 600 people.
Amazing.
Amazing to be there. And that's why not just FANS celebrates this, but cities, counties, states, and even national proclamations have been made to celebrate October as Filipino-American National Historical Society's Filipino-American History Month.
That's right, and we are celebrating it on Kababayan Today. Of course, no one better than Eloisa Borah to talk to us about our history. So we'll be right back. We want to learn more. Don't go away.